My name is Eleanor. I'm 82 years old. I'm recording this because I don't know how much time I have left to say it. Not because I'm sick. I'm fine, mostly. But time moves differently now. Days fold into each other, and I keep thinking about something I should have said 40 years ago. I don't know if anyone will watch this. Maybe that's better. I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, the kind of place where everyone knew your name, your family, your business. My father owned a hardware store. My mother taught piano lessons in our living room. I had one brother, Michael. He was 3 years younger than me. We weren't close as children. I don't think siblings always are, not in the way people imagine. He was loud and restless. I was quiet and careful. He got into trouble. I cleaned it up. That was just how it was. When I was 23, I moved to the city. I wanted something bigger than what that town could offer. I wanted a life that felt like mine. Michael stayed. He helped my father with the store, dated a girl from high school, married her. They had 2 kids. He seemed happy. I visited twice a year, Christmas and summer. We'd sit at the same kitchen table, eat the same meals, talk about the weather and work and nothing that mattered. I thought that was normal. I thought we had time. In 1984, I got engaged. His name was David. He was kind, steady, worked in finance. My parents liked him. Michael met him once, shook his hand, said congratulations. That was it. The wedding was in June. Small, just family and a few friends. Michael was there, standing near the back during the ceremony. I remember glancing over and seeing him watching me, not smiling, not frowning, just watching. At the reception, he came up to me while I was standing alone for a moment, catching my breath. He had a drink in his hand. He said, "You look happy." I said, "I am." He nodded. Then he said, "I wanted to tell you something." I waited. But then someone called my name, one of David's cousins. She wanted a photo. I told Michael, "Hold on just 1 second," and I walked away. I never asked him what he wanted to say. Life got busy after that. David and I moved to Chicago for his job. I started working at a library. We had a daughter, then a son. The years passed the way they do when you're building something. You don't notice how fast it's going until you look back. I called home every few weeks, talked to my mother mostly. She'd give me updates. Michael's kids were doing well in school. The store was struggling but holding on. My father's health was declining. The usual things. I spoke to Michael maybe twice a year. Birthdays, holidays, short conversations. "How are you?" "Good. You?" "Good." That was enough, I thought. In 1992, my father died. Heart attack. Sudden. I flew home for the funeral. Michael was different. Thinner. Quieter. He stood beside me at the service but didn't say much. Afterward, at the house, people came and went. Neighbors, old friends. I stayed for 3 days. Helped my mother sort through things, then went back to Chicago. Before I left, Michael walked me to my car. It was early morning, cold. He put his hands in his pockets and said, "You don't have to come back so often. I know you're busy." I said, "I'll visit when I can." He nodded. Yeah. I got in the car. He stood there watching as I drove away. David and I divorced in 1998. It wasn't dramatic. We just grew apart. The kids were teenagers by then. I moved into a smaller apartment, kept working, kept going. I called my mother to tell her. She was quiet on the phone. Then she said, "Michael got divorced too, last year." I didn't know that. She said, "He doesn't talk about it much." I asked if he was okay. She said, "I think so. You should call him." I meant to, I really did, but I didn't. My mother died in 2003, pneumonia. She'd been sick for a while, but I didn't realize how bad it was until Michael called me and said I should come home. I took the first flight I could. When I got to the hospital, she was already gone. Michael was sitting in the hallway outside her room. His head was down. When he looked up and saw me, his face crumpled for just a second. Then he stood and we hugged, and he said, "I'm sorry. I should have called you sooner." I said, "It's not your fault." We sat together for a while, not talking, just sitting. After the funeral, we had to go through the house, decide what to keep, what to sell, what to throw away. It took weeks. Michael took time off work. I stayed at a motel nearby. We worked side by side, sorting through 50 years of our parents' lives. Old photo albums, letters, my mother's sheet music, my father's tools. One afternoon, we were in the attic. Michael found a box of things from when we were kids, school projects, drawings, report cards. He pulled out a Valentine's Day card I'd made in second grade, construction paper and glitter. It said, "To Mom and Dad," in crooked letters. He smiled. "You were always so careful, even then." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. You always did everything right. I never knew how you did that." I didn't know what to say. He put the card back in the box. "I used to think you didn't need anyone." We finished going through the house, put it on the market, sold it within a month. The day we signed the papers, Michael and I stood outside the house one last time. The new owners were moving in the next week. It was strange seeing it empty, all the furniture gone, just walls and floors and echoes. Michael said, "Feels like the end of something." I said, "Yeah." We stood there for a while. Then he turned to me and said, "Eleanor, can I ask you something?" I said, "Of course." He hesitated. Then he said, "Do you ever think about us? About how we never really, talked?" I didn't know how to answer that. He looked away. "Never mind. Forget I said anything." I said, "Michael, But he was already walking to his car. After that, I went back to Chicago. Michael stayed in New York. We talked on the phone a few times, brief conversations, surface level. I told myself we were fine. We were family. That was enough. But something felt unfinished. I kept thinking about what he'd said. "Do you ever think about us?" I did. I thought about it all the time, but I didn't know how to say that. In 2010, I retired. My kids were grown. My daughter lived in California. My son was in Boston. I was alone most of the time. I didn't mind it. I'd gotten used to being alone. I thought about calling Michael more often. I'd pick up the phone, dial halfway, then hang up. I didn't know what I'd say. It had been so long since we'd really talked. What would I even start with? I told myself I'd do it later. There was always later. In 2015, I got a call from Michael's ex-wife. She said Michael had a stroke. He was in the hospital. He was stable, but it was serious. I flew out the next day. When I got to the hospital, he was awake but weak. His speech was slow. His right side didn't move as well, but he recognized me. I sat beside his bed. I said, "I'm here." He nodded. I stayed for 2 weeks, visited every day. We didn't talk much. He was tired most of the time, but I sat with him, read to him sometimes, brought him books he liked, westerns mostly, Louis L'Amour. One evening, near the end of my visit, he said, "I'm glad you came." I said, "Of course." He looked at me. "I always wanted to be close to you, like how siblings are supposed to be." I felt something tighten in my chest. He said, "But I never knew how. You were always so far away." I wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault, that I was the one who left, that I was the one who never called, that I was the one who kept choosing distance because it felt safer than staying. But I didn't say any of that. I just said, "I'm sorry." He closed his eyes. "It's okay." He recovered enough to go home. I went back to Chicago. We talked on the phone a little more after that, once a month maybe, short calls. "How are you feeling?" "Better." "Good." I kept meaning to say more, to ask him what he'd wanted to tell me at my wedding, to tell him I was sorry for all the years I wasn't there, to tell him I loved him even though I'd never been good at showing it. But I didn't. I thought there was still time. Michael died last year, another stroke. Sudden. His daughter called me. I flew out for the funeral. It was small, just his kids, a few friends, some people from the town. I sat in the front row. I looked at his casket and realized I'd spent 40 years keeping him at a distance, not because I didn't love him, but because I didn't know how to let him in. And now he was gone. After the service, his daughter gave me a box of his things, photos mostly, some letters, and at the bottom, I found something I didn't expect. It was a card, the same Valentine's Day card I'd made in 2nd grade, the one with construction paper and glitter, to Mom and Dad. He'd kept it all these years. There was a note tucked inside, in his handwriting. It said, "Eleanor, I wanted to tell you at your wedding that I was proud of you, that I always looked up to you, that I wished we were closer, but I didn't think you'd care. I'm sorry I never tried harder. Michael." I don't know when he wrote that, maybe after the wedding, maybe years later, maybe recently. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he felt the same way I did, and neither of us ever said it. I've been thinking about that a lot, about all the conversations we never had, about the distance I created because I thought it was easier, about how I kept waiting for the right time, and the right time never came. I always thought there would be more chances, more visits, more phone calls, more years, but there weren't. People think regret is about the big things, the mistakes you make, the choices you can't take back. But for me, it's the small things, the phone calls I didn't make, the questions I didn't ask, the words I didn't say.
It's standing in a hospital room and not saying "I love you." It's walking away at a wedding reception and never coming back to finish the conversation. It's spending 40 years keeping someone at arm's length because you thought that was safer than letting them see you. I don't know if Michael knew how much I cared about him, I hope he did, but I'm not sure. And that's what I carry now. I've thought about what I would say if I could talk to him one more time. I'd tell him I'm sorry, that I should have called more, that I should have visited more, that I should have asked him what he wanted to say that day at my wedding. I'd tell him I loved him, that I always did, even when I didn't show it. I'd tell him he mattered, that he wasn't just my brother, he was my family, and I should have treated him like that. But I can't say any of that now. I think about younger people sometimes, the ones who are busy building their lives, working, moving, chasing things that feel important. I don't blame them. I did the same thing. But I wonder if they know how fast it goes, how quickly the people you love become people you used to know, how easy it is to let silence grow into something you can't fix. I don't have advice. I don't know what anyone should do. I just know what I didn't do, and I know it's too late now. There's a photo of Michael and me on my desk. We're kids in it, maybe 6 and 9 years old. We're standing in front of the hardware store. My father must have taken it. Michael is grinning. I'm looking off to the side. Even then, I was somewhere else. I don't know why I'm recording this. Maybe because I need to say it out loud. Maybe because I want someone to know that I understand now, that I see what I missed. Or maybe because I hope that if someone else is where I was, choosing distance, waiting for the right time, thinking there's always later, they'll see this and realize something I didn't. Later doesn't always come. I'm 82 years old. My brother has been gone for a year, and I still think about what he wanted to tell me. I'll never know now, but I know what I wanted to tell him. I just wish I had.
If you stayed with me through this, thank you. I don't expect anything, but if you have someone you've been meaning to call, someone you've been keeping at a distance, someone you think you'll talk to later, maybe don't wait. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe it does.